Hello there. For years now, people across Britain have been feeling poorer. Prices go up, taxes rise, rents climb, but wages hardly ever move, regardless of what the government say. Many families are working harder, and they're working harder than ever now, just to stand still. Now the next budget from Chancellor Reeves approaches. Rumours of new tax rises and spending cuts are everywhere, and it's been going on like this for weeks now. But nobody knows exactly what's coming. But what a lot of people know is that something has to change. The system we live in is simply isn't working for ordinary people anymore. Since 2008 financial crash, wages in the UK have hardly increased once you account for inflation. But the cost of living, housing, food, transport, childcare, energy keep rising. Every year the government takes more through taxes, sometimes without even saying so. For example, by freezing tax thresholds, people end up paying more even if their real income doesn't go up. At the same time, inflation eats away at what people can afford. Rent and bills rise faster than pay, leaving less and less at the end of the month. And millions of households now feel they're just running just to stay in place. Britain's economy depends too much on debt and the housing market. For years, governments and banks encouraged people to borrow for houses, cars and credit because that kept the economy moving. But this has made own ownership harder for young people and created a huge divide between those who own property and those who rent. The government also borrows heavily to cover spending, and now the interest on that debt actually costs more than 100 billion a year. This means there's less money to invest in things that could actually grow the economy, like education, transport, and the green jobs. The system keeps going, but it's built on shaky ground. And while most people struggle with the bills, the richest in society are doing better than ever. Big corporations and wealthy individuals have seen their profits and assets soar. Stocks and property prices have jumped, while tax on capital gains and dividends remain lower than taxes on wages. Large companies often use clever accounting to pay for less tax in the UK. And despite talk of shared sacrifice, executive pay keeps rising. The result is clear. Those at the top gain more while the rest of us fall behind. A country that allows billion-pound profits while millions rely on food banks cannot call itself fair. Over the past few weeks, of course, there's been constant rumours of what might the new budget contain. People are nervous, and quite rightly so, because many of the ideas being discussed sound like more pressure on ordinary citizens. And here are some of the rumours. The tax on the wealthy. Reeves has hinted that higher taxes for those with the broadest shoulders. Now this means increases in capital gains tax, inheritance tax, or limits to pension tax relief. The temporary 5p cut in fuel duty may be scrapped, meaning higher prices at the pump. There's new charges or possible new charges for electric vehicles to make up for loss of petrol tax. Electric car owners could face new road user fees of some sort or nature. Lower savings allowances. The annual cash ISA limit may drop from 20,000 to 10,000. Now there's a possibility of energy VAT cuts. The government may reduce VAT on household energy bills to help with living costs. They're talking of a property tax reform. The talk is replacing stamp duty with a new property tax, and even adding capital gains tax on expensive main homes. The government's already borrowed about £100 million up to now this year, and more than is expected. So Reeves is under pressure to raise money from somewhere. Now these plans, if they happen, will affect millions of people, and people want to see fairness. The wealthy and big corporations pay their share, and the cost doesn't fall mainly on working families. Now most politicians know the current system is broken, but few are brave enough to fix it. Raising taxes on the rich risks angering donors and indeed homeowners. Cutting spending risks could be a public backlash, so the government end up doing little. Small changes here and there, but no real reform. Meanwhile, people lose trust. They see the same problem year after year after year. Low pay, poor housing, rising costs, and no real answers. So rumours about every new budget make the public even more anxious, because it feels like the pain will always fall on them. Now history shows that when a system squeezes ordinary people for too long, it eventually breaks. Sometimes this happens through crises, like the 2008 crash. Sometimes through political change, like new movements or new parties emerge. If wages are going to stay low, prices keep rising, the public services keep shrinking, another crisis will come. And the question is whether it will be managed carefully or happen in a chaotic, painful way. Britain still has potential. Skilled workers, creative industries and world-class universities. What's missing is a fair system that rewards work and not just wealth. A better economy would include fairer taxes, close loopholes to make sure everybody pays their share, higher wages, strengthens workers' rights and link pay to productivity. We need affordable housing, build more social homes, control unfair rents and stop property speculation. Public investment, spend on the green energy, infrastructure and skills instead of short-term cuts. And we definitely need transparency, so that people can clearly see where their taxes go and what they get in return. I think these are simple ideas, but would they really rebuild trust and stability? It's a difficult one. But change doesn't start in Westminster. It starts with you and I, the ordinary people, speaking up. The welfare state, women's rights and climate action all began with public pressure. The same can happen now. Citizens can demand that fairness, not fear, shapes the next budget. Instead of asking only, what will I lose? People can ask, will this make the system fairer? If more voices asked that question, politicians would have to listen. Britain's current path, low wages, high rents, rising taxes and weak services, can't go on forever. The up and coming budget will test whether our government truly understands that. If it places the heaviest burdens on the ordinary citizens and particularly families, again, I believe the public's patience will snap. But if it finally asks the wealthy, the big corporations, to do something and be a little bit fairer, then that could be something of a start for the better. A fair economy would lift living standards and restore trust and give people some hope again. The choice is simple. Keep patching up a broken system, or change the system that works for everyone. Because this system as it stands cannot hold, but society can. In the meantime, take care. Bye now.